Um, with set, maybe running results.
I was going to say you're right.
What do you like? I can do that.
Oh, yeah.
And so, of course, vendor gets it.
Yep.
It's in there, everything that's to happen.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, I love Fender, but
I love Fender
not,
as,
not today.
yeah. I don't love Fender Pro. Yes.
So I do not accept their policies out of it. So, yeah,
Now, Fender Pro, even whenever Gibson was doing their stuff, because Gibson was through.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Richland School Board of Directors. We are in recess until 6:30 for executive session. Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Richland School Board of Directors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I loved hearing those little voices.
I know.
That was the best part.
Taking our roll call today, all of our board directors are here and our student representatives are on Zoom tonight. Can we hear them? Are they online?
Hello.
Hi, Snan. And Tiffany?
Hello.
Yep, got him.
Great,
Perfect.
thank you. They are on Zoom tonight because they are studying for finals, and we are giving them a little bit of a break being home. And they'll just be on probably for a short while. So we are all here, and the first order of business on our agenda tonight is our Board of Directors election of officers. This is something we do on an annual basis at our first meeting in January. So I will open the floor to our board to make nominations, starting with President.
I have a nomination.
Okay,
I would like to nominate Katrina Waters as our continuing president
Me
for the
too.
upcoming
Me
year.
too.
Oh,
second.
That's
come on, you
unanimous.
guys. Can't we agree on anything?
Any other nominations for president? Okay,
Unless, of course, you don't want to do it.
I am willing to do it again for another year, if that's what the board would like. So there's no other discussion. I think you can vote.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so passed. Thank you. And then I will open it up to nominations for vice president of the board.
I nominate Jill.
Vote for her, but I don't want a second.
Oh, you're such.
I'll second it.
Any other nominations? Are you willing, Joe?
Yes, I'll do it again.
Okay. Then we'll vote.
Yeah.
Abstain.
Yes.
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 Right. And our other officer is our legislative rep. I believe that one operates on a 2-year cycle, and Rick will remain in that role.
I'm on the ledge committee, so
Yes,
it'd be,
okay.
yeah.
So we'll remain.
So we don't have to.
We don't have to vote because he already is, and he'll have.
If you want to do it,
Unless someone else wants a chance.
Oh no, I'm absolutely happy for Rick to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you all, and I am happy to serve again for another year, and happy to
and
have
thank you. That's a
Joe
hard
with
job.
me.
Um, Consistency's good.
Yeah, great.
And we have a great board, so.
Mhm, good.
makes it easy.
Next in our agenda is our recognition of the first Lego League, and Enid is going to introduce our recognition team tonight.
Mhm.
Love it.
It was awesome hearing their voices when we did the Pledge of Allegiance. Those little.
Thank you.
So we are very proud to recognize Jefferson Elementary, aka Robo Raptors, and Chief Joseph Middle School Robotics for their outstanding performance in the first Lego League regional qualifier and for qualifying for the state competition en route to state. Lego League engages in hands-on learning through robotics, engineering, and students design, build, and program a Lego-based robot to complete missions on a competition field, while also researching and presenting an innovation project that addresses.
I don't think it did anything.
Where was I?
Also addresses.
That addresses.
There we go. That addresses an authentic community or global challenge. Students develop collaboration, communication, creativity, and skills grounded in first Lego League's core values of discovery, inclusion, and gracious professionalism. So I am super pleased to hand it over to our advisors, Maggie and Kendra for Jefferson, and Kendra for Chief.
Awesome.
Our team, the Robo Raptors, are made up of orphan players in Jefferson. So excited too because Chico is where our students funnel to. So it's one of our students that are on this year's season theme was Unearthed. It focuses on problems archaeologists face. For their innovation project, the team chose to address the challenge of not enough people in the field of archaeology. So they researched digging sticks and created student-friendly digging stick resources to help other students learn about archaeology and more examples
Ooh.
Um,
Yes.
Your robot.
And the digging sticks actually too, if that's okay.
I know, bring the digging
Yeah,
sticks.
I'm wondering if you guys can bring your posters up in front of this thing so that we can, because it's kind of, we're kind of around the corner.
So did you guys make the digging sticks
Yes.
and painted them too?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what does the robot do?
It does like the missions around the board.
So does it move on its own?
The missions are like it's like you have to like lift this, push that.
So I had a son who did Lego League years ago. How many missions did you accomplish on the board?
So where are your missions on the board?
10 missions that you were successfully able to do?
Each of these points are missions that
So of all those missions that are on there, how many have you done?
all the ones that have the marking with.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
That's pretty good.
Pretty
That's very
impressive.
good.
So
14.
Yeah, I think that's way more than my son's team ended up doing.
And your robot is programmed how?
So we have these tablets and this like spike app that we use to blocks the code of our robot.
So you're coding it to do things. Very cool.
And we also made this so this is the robot and this is the attachment. We made the attachments so the attachments are like the arms that can do the mission. So this and since we have multiple attachments, we have a lot of missions. We have an attachment that's easy to take on. The base.
You can set it up here.
Yeah, so like
Just don't let it fall.
so it attaches on like really like it slips on and then you would press this button to do your downloaded code. It would
And so what does this particular attachment do?
this it does the purple one. So this there's a silo where you have to like hit the thing like push it out. It's like a cannon. And then this one pushes down a lever to release the box. And for this one, you push this red thing to flip that. And so that's what this does. And that and this arm goes in and knocks that off.
So do you have 14 different attachments?
We have
10.
We have the groups.
Wow.
We have 5. Each code on here is an attachment and the route that the robot is going.
So each attachment can do different.
Yeah,
multiple- yeah.
that's
Amazing.
impressive, you
So
guys.
how many of you got to program one of the missions? All of you got to program at least one of the missions?
Yes. We broke up into partners. So there's 10 of us when everyone's there. And we broke up into partners. That's where there's 5 different things.
Amazing.
So each partner did. So they each did different.
How long did this take you to do? Like, how long have you been working on it?
From when school started to December, which is when the competition was,
Mm-hmm.
and then since we got invited to state, we've been working
Yeah,
to improve our stuff.
great.
Awesome. What was the hardest thing?
Sometimes like working together is hard, but like want it to be like your idea always, but then like we've probably like collaborated in different ways, each other like idea. Because, oh, like I can do this. Another hard part is when you have like code that just doesn't work. That's hard.
So how many of you are fourth graders and how many of you guys are fourth graders? Very-
You're missing one. Raise your hand.
Okay, so you guys are split up pretty much 50-50.
Yeah. She comes from competition.
Nice.
Good.
That's awesome.
You guys are great.
Yeah.
You guys are
Thanks, you guys. Really appreciate you sharing this with us
This is
tonight.
the
This is super
best
cool.
part of the meeting by
Yes.
far, and I haven't
Every
even
single
seen the
time.
rest of it yet. No offense to those of you who are going to follow them. But
Right.
When do you guys
Good
do
luck.
your when do you guys do your practice, or when do you guys get together to do your
Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4:15.
after school? So like if we wanted to come like hang out at the school and watch you guys do what you're going to do at state, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, 3:15.
You have to
Yeah.
tell them. Okay. Okay, they're the
It's up to the adults.
okay, but you guys would be okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Are you going to
right
tell us
after
about your project next? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. You can see we love it.
Tell me more. Okay, I've got some fifth graders on the way up next year.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, good luck, you guys.
So I'm the coach for the CJMS robotics team, so at Chief Joseph Middle School. I have two of my team members here. There was a band concert, and we have a lot of kids that do both. It's a very similar, it's obviously the exact same game. They also are doing the innovation project. Our team came back from competition and already like, okay, we need to do this, we need to change this, we need to do this. They're on the process of making 3D models at this point. I've been re-upping their amount of code that they've been working on. They are just like the hardest working kids. For me, I just kind of like show them what to do and I kind of just let them do it. That's kind of my policy. So everything they've done, they've been so, I mean, it's just been really cool. I'm really proud of them. I think they're more important though to talk.
I think you have to talk be easier if you talk in the microphone.
So
We need a stool under that thing.
coach.
Nope. So how do you learn how to code? How did you learn how to do this or Lego stuff? Or is it really easy?
Well, well, I think so me personally, I can just learn as I go because I was in the robotics club when I was in 6th grade and now I'm in 8th. So over the years, I kind of picked up on the coding, and that's why.
I only learned a bit in 6th grade when I was in class. I'm mostly in the innovation project. I don't know.
Right.
She's focused a lot on the innovation project. She's a lot part of the design of the model. You did do a code though, right?
I did.
Mission 10, right?
I think so.
So you can break up the jobs according to what people like and are good at, right? So maybe if you're more interested in design and research, then that's your specialty. That's awesome.
So did you guys do something similar to what theirs did, or is yours completely different missions and completely different?
So missions, what did we do? It's okay. I mean, think about what we want to say for the innovation project. So they split up into teams, just like that team did. We had our higher encoders, lower encoders as we worked through missions. And by the end, they've done 6, 1. They had 6 at competition. And at this point, because we've been revamping, we're at 3 to 4 more missions that will be completed by the time we're at competition, since the students have been working on it. And then for the innovation project, we did something completely different than them. You guys can talk about that.
So for our innovation project, we at first we kind of wanted to like automate the process of securing the site and protecting it from like erosion, wind, the rain. But slowly over time we realized that we can that we can take the robot that we have now and we can adapt it and make it, instead of automating the process, we make it easier for the audiologists that are already on the site. So it just makes our job a lot easier.
So you've been in this for a few years, right? You said you started in 5th grade or 6th grade? 6th grade. So you've done 3 years now. How much have you been able to reuse of the programming on the robot that you did in like 6th grade? Can you take any of that and reuse it now on the missions that you have in 8th grade and tweak it a little bit, or you feel like you're starting from scratch every single year?
Oh, it's kind of from scratch as each year it's different missions. But I was able to take the things that I learned from previous years and apply it to the current year.
All right. How big's your club also at Chief Joe? How many?
So we have about 13, 14 regular. We started at like 20 and then it's gone down. We have about 13, 14 showing up regularly and we meet 2 times a week, except for the week before competition, and we meet every single day. So it's a decent size, especially because we lose a lot of 7th graders. We lose a lot of kids 7th and 8th grade to sports. So it's really cool to see students continuing year after year.
Is it a great job?
Yep.
Really good.
Great job.
And
Thanks,
when do
you
you
guys.
guys meet? We know when they meet. Are you
Same days.
same day, same time?
Tuesdays and
Okay.
Thursdays.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
And good luck on your competition.
Next on our agenda is our student advisory report. Unfortunately, the student is called in sick, so we will not have that report this evening. And then we will open the floor for public comment. The portion of the meeting is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within our jurisdiction. The board also encourages speakers to present written statements to the board secretary, who will distribute copies to all of the board members. Please keep your comments brief and focused on the issues before the board. We ask that all comments be respectful and constructive, and that the audience remain quiet and respectful regardless of your agreement with the viewpoints that are shared. The board will listen to your comments, but will not engage in a back and forth discussion except to ask clarifying questions. Please be aware that comments about individual staff or students are not appropriate during this time. If you have a concern about a specific staff member, please direct it to the superintendent or discuss it with a board member privately. We have 30 minutes total set aside for public comment and allow 2 minutes per speaker. We do our best to accommodate everyone who wishes to speak, but if we run out of time, you're welcome to send additional comments to an email address, which is boardfeedback, all one word, at rsd.edu. And we thank everyone for their participation and your input. How many people do we have signed up this evening?
I have one person signed up in person, Kyla Bean.
Kayla? Yeah, come on in.
All right, YouTube in the classroom. Under Google Workspace for Education, YouTube is classified as an additional Google service. Last spring, Google's own terms require that when these additional services are enabled for students under the age of 18, districts must obtain parental or guardian consent and reconfirm that consent annually. I am asking the board for clarity on how Richland School District is enabling YouTube access for under age 18 student accounts, and if so, how parental consent is being collected and reconfirmed annually. As a parent, I have not been presented with or been given, when asked, a consent form that clearly explains YouTube access, its data practices, or my ability to opt my child out. However, I have found that district policy states, quote, during class, devices must be solely used for instructional purposes related to the assigned task. Why then has my elementary school student been allowed to log into his Chromebook 13 times in a single day on a regular basis, totaling over 3 hours, onto multiple game websites and YouTube use for video game content rated M for mature, and other uneducational videos, including one titled, "Can 250 Sheriffs Save the President? Battle Simulator?" where hundreds of animated characters are shot and gassed over the course of 15 minutes. And no, it is not kids' YouTube the elementary school students are watching, but regular YouTube. The one YouTube itself says kids under the age of 13 are not legally allowed to access. And yet here we are with every child in the district having full access with no legal parental consent. I think you and I both would agree this kind of content and access should not be in the schools, and it just so happens that your contract with Google also agrees. Let's get our district into compliance the way Kennewick's recently did and get YouTube off of our kids' Chromebooks while at our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll follow up. I'll follow up with Glenn.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll get a formal response to that we'll talk about maybe at the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's great. No other, anyone else signed up?
No other speakers.
Okay. Thank you. Now we will move into our board student rep and superintendent reports, and we'll start with Dr. Redinger.
Yes, so I had a few, excuse me, I wanted to highlight, we had some more of our RISE awards. So we did a couple before break and one recently. And so again, this has just been really great to recognize teachers in front of the whole school. We had Lori Prusing, she's a special education teacher at Marcus Whitman. She was recognized in front of everyone in the school for her excellent service. And then we also had Keziah Watson at Libby, which was very exciting to recognize her. And then Amanda Pina and Felicia Villarreal, the two lead secretaries, worked very well together. Also wanted to let you know that that we have some plays coming up, Kiss Me Kate. And so I have bought some tickets, looking forward to attending that. And I was able to go to a Richland High, Hanford High basketball game. And so it was good seeing all of our community showing up for that. That was really outstanding to be a part of. And that's all I have for right now. We have one last thing is we've been working very closely with Melissa Gomboski with some of the legislation that's coming forward. And so Travis has been giving feedback and we've signed on to one letter that was no new mandates. And so Travis has been really good in making sure that we're representing the priorities that we had discussed. That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Redinger? No? Okay. Sinan and Tiffany, are you still online for your report?
At Hanford, we have, in general, there's a robotics tournament on Saturday that Hanford qualified for, and it's interleagues. And then we also have Stolen Ensemble next week, which is like a music competition. And then me and Sinan both finished our filming, so now Shauna's just editing the Levy video. And then we had a lot of students qualify for All State, which is like a really high level band and orchestra.
And then also just with the final schedule coming up Thursday and Friday. On Thursday, school will start at 8:30 and end at 2. And then Friday is just normal. And then the new semester starts Wednesday. And Delta has an internship info night tomorrow. And there's also an early release on the 28th for them. And tonight at RHS, there's a family meeting that helps, or sorry, I think it's tomorrow night. Yes, tomorrow. And it's basically helps parents and adults recognize teen substance abuse and like warning signs. And that's from 5 to 7 tomorrow at Richland. And that's it.
Any questions for Tiffany or Sinan? Clarification? Nope. All right. Thanks, you guys. You can stay on as long as you want. You can drop off whenever you want. Know you guys are studying for finals, so good luck with that.
Thank you.
And board reports. We'll start with Rick.
So I'm going to save mine for the legislative session update. Three of us here attended the Legislative Assembly and Legislative Conference, I think it's called, in SeaTac last weekend. And Learned quite a bit that we have an agenda item for.
Good call, because I would have done both. Because I was at that too. It was really good, and we've got some pretty valuable information on that. The only other thing I want to talk about is our town hall meetings. We've had 2 so far to discuss and educate and provide information on our levies. I just want to encourage anybody who has concerns, anybody who wants to verify information, anybody who wants factual data to try and attend one of those. I'm going to see if we can get one of those 2 also. Just record one of them so that we can have it on the internet on our levy page, just if you're not able to come. But we've got one coming up on January 21st.
It's already up.
Yeah, we are.
Do
Remember,
we
we
have
already
one?
have.
Do we have a town hall one, or do we have one of the ones that we did at the school?
They're similar.
Are they exactly the same? Travis, since he's our guru, yeah.
They are not exactly the same, but they are very, very close to each other.
Okay, perfect. So we have it online. The information is there. We also have one on January 21st, January 28th, an all virtual one on January 28th, then at Three Rivers Homelink on January 29th, and then at Enterprise Middle School on February 3rd. We went to the one last night. Not a whole lot of attendance, but the really good thing is if you have any questions whatsoever about any of the information, any of the documentation, I encourage you to go and or look at the one that's on the web to help dispel any of the information that may not be 100% accurate, because I think accuracy is critical. The other thing I want to remind everybody is we have our parent guardian meeting on the 26th. Got so many dates going on here right now. Monday, the 26th will be our next parent guardian meeting. We'll follow up with our discussion on discipline in regards to that, some of the follow-up questions, and then follow up on some of that. And other than that, that's all I have right now.
And the parent guardian meeting starts at what time?
6
o'clock?
Yes.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, 6 to
6 p.m.
8. We changed it every once in a while, so it's like, yeah, 6 to 8.
Yep.
And it's both in person and in Zoom. And there's a link that goes out and it's posted on there. One other question I have in regards to that, and is BJ in here? No. Do we know, Shelley, do you know where the parent guardian information is on the website?
I can double check with BJ. BJ and Brian are presenting levy information at the PTA council tonight.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So let me double check with BJ.
I think there's a committees page and it's on there somewhere.
That's what
I've
I was
seen
like.
it.
I guess my point is we probably need to make it easier.
Easier to find. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we were going to update it to a Teams link and not use Zoom.
And I don't think we have done that yet.
Okay. Because I don't know that I've seen like the message go out. So
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll work on
need
that
to
too.
Get that done. Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Bonnie?
I don't really have anything.
Okay. Dan?
I know we have a school tour of Homelink scheduled for Friday. Since our last meeting, we had one at PCOA, so I want to thank everybody that helped put that on for us. I've been enjoying them, and I'm looking forward to the one on Friday. I too went to the basketball game with the superintendent here for Hanford versus Richland last week, and been to a couple of other basketball games, so I've been enjoying the winter sports as well.
Great. Yeah, the only update I was going to give was the schedule for the levy town hall meetings, which Jill went over as well. So really encourage the public to show up to those if you have questions, and allow us an opportunity to answer the questions and, help you educate yourself and your neighbors about the levy.
And, can I just make a suggestion? Even if you don't have questions, there's really good information at those that you can absorb and then share with people that you might run into who might have questions. I just think it's a really good opportunity to come and learn more about how levies work and what they pay for and what they don't pay for.
Right. The other thing I know that's very helpful for the board is the questions we hear tells us what's confusing that's out there so that we can provide more answers to frequently asked questions and dispel some of the misinformation that gets circulated. So all the questions are welcome and very helpful.
Yeah, so even if you can't attend one of the meetings, don't hesitate to send your questions to board feedback. Just to make sure that we can make sure that all the information is accurate.
Yeah, board feedback's been a little slow lately, so.
Yeah.
Come on, send us some stuff.
It's okay.
It's been.
It's okay. Okay, we will move into the business portion of our agenda with our performance audit update, and that is Dr. Reininger.
So I wanted to give an update. I had mentioned earlier in the year that we have a consolidated program review, which is a thorough review of all of our programs. What I found interesting is that all three big districts, Kennewick, Richland, and Pasco, we're all going through this right now. We've all are going to be reviewed. I want to do a big shout out again to Derek O'Connick. There he is back there. Derek is doing an amazing job organizing and making sure we have all the paperwork. It is a very thorough review of all of our programs. And so we'll keep you updated on how that's going. But I could tell OSPI we were on our first kickoff Zoom today, and Derek did a really good job representing us and our team. And I was on there as well. And because it is a team effort, but I did want to do a big shout out to Derek for helping lead that work. So the things that will be looked at is Title I Part A. These are all of our state and federal dollars that we receive. All the title programs, Title I, II, III, IV. McKinney-Vento, which is our homeless program, just to make sure that we're following all of the procedures. CTE, so Amy Miller is going to be very involved in that. And that's making sure our teachers are certified. They've gone through all the trainings, safety in the classrooms. Private schools, our relationship with private schools and where we are supposed to coordinate, like with special education, civil rights, fiscal cross-cutting. That's a new one, fiscal cross-cutting, but that is new that they're starting to look at financial stability, which I think is really good for the whole state, given where many districts are in our state. And then foster care, which we have worked with Treehouse over the years. And then, there's money that we incorporate with those programs. So we had our introductory meeting today. We have 6 weeks to submit documentation, which Derek's doing a really good job working with the team to make sure. And then we'll have our next report meeting March 19th. And then we'll have an exit meeting on June 8th. And so we'll share out how it went, any areas that need improvement. And as we go forward, it was interesting because today there was an OSPI webinar and Chris Reichdahl was talking about the different title programs. And they are hearing that Title II, III, and IV are at risk, and all of the migrant programs at the federal level. And so we have funding through 2026, but he said count on like a 20% reduction from any federal dollars that you receive. Now, again, fortunately, we've talked about this in our levy presentations. We don't rely as heavily on our federal dollars as many districts do in our state and in our country. But we need to just be thinking about that. Title II does a lot with staff development. Title III, Title IV, our bilingual programs. We just need to be aware that at the federal level, there could be some cuts there. Mm-hmm. He also talked a little bit about the homeless dollars as well. And the Department of Education is continuing to be dismantled. Talked about that. They used to work mainly, OSPIs across the country would work with one Department of Education, and now they're already working with 5, how it's been dispersed. And so it's just an interesting dynamic that we're really keeping our eye on and making sure when we're budgeting that we pay close attention to that. Special education and Title I at this point, they're not looking at that, but they are very seriously at the federal level taking those other funds away and maybe doing like grant programs. And then he also talked a little bit about, in terms of looking at policies and procedures, that at the federal level, the state Supreme Court is hearing Idaho and West Virginia's have banned transgender athletes in K-12. And the Supreme Court, according to Chris Reichdall, and what I've seen in the press and what I've seen of the hearings, that they are going to uphold the bans in Idaho and West Virginia. But we don't think at this point that that will have any impact on a state that doesn't have a ban. But we'll be watching that closely. And he's watching that closely as well to see what will be the implications if you don't have a ban at the federal level. So those are my updates. Any questions?
So I think my understanding with the Supreme Court is they're upholding the state's rights to set that, correct?
Yes, correct.
So it's
Correct.
not in front of them right now to consider
Correct.
a federal ban. But if that were to come through, then that would be a different thing.
Correct.
Right.
I have a quick question. When you're talking about the new audit that they're doing on the financial cross-cutting, is that just for the programs that are overseen by state and federal, or is that all programs within a district?
Good question. I'll get clarification on that.
Okay.
Because that would be beyond their purview. My understanding would be it probably be these programs.
Right. And it would seem like they were already doing that if they were doing the audit to start with. So when they call it now financial
we'll find out more. That's a new one. So we'll find out more.
What exactly does that entail?
I'll follow up with Derek on that and Travis.
Thank you.
Do you have any sense of the timing of when we would know about cuts to the federal programs to plan budgets for next year?
Well, according to, and Derek has really keyed into that as well. Yep. Yep. So Derek had planned, made some contingency plans already for this year because the money was held back. We did really, yeah, we've got it for this year. But then the worry is that this coming year it would be maybe zeroed out. So we'll know more soon. They're going to keep us updated monthly. And then Derek is really connected into OSPI state and federal programs. And, state would be like LAP. Nutrition services, we get some federal and some state there.
But our only real concern at this point in time is what's coming from federal money, right?
Correct. The only comment that Chris Reichdall made, though, is if some districts are impacted more heavily, let's actually use a Pasco with their migrant and bilingual, that he said the priority would be with state dollars to backfill those districts. So we just need to be aware that we just need to we'll pay attention. We have contingency plans last year and we'll continue. Travis?
Yeah, so the harm, there wouldn't be much harm finding out late other than planning purposes. Absolutely, Derek would be going crazy with planning. But as far as the fiscal component of it, with federal grants, those are typically all reimbursement grants. So we have to spend the money and then send in a claim. So as we budget, the net activity shouldn't be that much of an effect. And it is one of those other reasons why we add in some of the capacity that we talked about. This year, we added $2.5 million of capacity because of new grants, new revenues that are unexpected or maybe unknown at the time of the budget. And so we budget in extra expenditures for those specifically. That's why we do capacity. Also, instances like we just had in December where second year in a row, we had a car run through a building. How do you budget for that? So again, another reason for capacity, but this federal the delay in knowing what our allocation will be. Again, not really a net activity to our budget, but certainly for planning.
Question in regards to the backfilling, both for Shelley and Travis. Do you see that impacting the funds that districts are already getting? Because obviously, if they have to backfill and find additional funding money, does that, just as a thought,
all the communication that we have is that we are fine for this fiscal year and for at least the rest of 26 calendar year. So it could affect next year's budget, but it should not have any effect on this fiscal year. So we should be able to operate under all the parameters that we know right now without any fear of losing money at this point.
For this fiscal year.
Because
Yes.
the funds that Washington receives the funds ahead of time for those.
Well, and I guess I'm thinking about the budget money that Washington has, not the federal money. If Washington is looking at these districts that have high impact from the federal dollars, that's going to cause some appropriation shifts in how money gets allocated across the state. Do you foresee that having an impact on districts that didn't rely on federal funding as much? I know that's $1 million question.
Right, and I would say it would be very, very difficult after McCleary for the state to withhold further
Any
funds
clawbacks.
to restrict us from being able to execute basic education just so that they can cover the backfill for those districts that are losing those funds.
Great, thanks,
Travis. Well said, Travis.
But to be fair, he can say they're going to backfill, but that's got to come from the state budget somewhere.
Correct.
And usually that means there's puts and takes and something else doesn't get funded.
That is a true statement.
Yes.
The impact would be, we would not see new money. We would see maintenance effort and then no new additional funding like potential MSOC increases or special education changes or anything.
Right.
There are some, and one thing, because Travis was on the webinar today as well, is that because so many districts are not going out for bonds, the state always budgets a certain amount for matching funds. And so there continues to be this growing amount of money for school districts that isn't going to school districts because we're not building buildings. So a big part of it is we have been working with legislators, Chris Reichel's doing this as well, to have that money moved into other, like MSOCs. For all the districts, because it has been earmarked for school districts to help with.
It's just sitting
there. Yeah. So that, or they're using it for other in the general fund.
And not to put it into the state general fund and get it sucked up into something else.
Yes,
correct.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Anything else there?
Trust him.
We'll move to our fiscal update with Travis.
Okay, so we did something different this month with being able to get the December data out ahead of time. So the difference with this month's fiscal update and a normal fiscal update is I would have January's enrollment as opposed to December's enrollment. We don't have January's enrollment completed yet, and so that will be updated when I present the fiscal update in February. I will show February's enrollment and we'll be able to see that continued trend.
Okay.
So I did include December's. I believe that has been seen before. Right now, factoring in December's enrollment, I have my projection tools to try and figure out where enrollment's going to be. We are seeing that trend of still being underneath what we budgeted for enrollment. That should have about a $1.5 million decrease to the revenue compared to what we budgeted. That's the real impact of where we're at. I will say in the packets, you'll see the fiscal update. We are still projecting a larger net gain. We're still projecting $239 million in revenue, $235 million in expenditures. Expenditures about 98.2% right now is what we're estimating of expenditures to revenue ratio. So we are still coming in very well. If we remove the capacity from what we budgeted, I had us projected at budget season to be about 8 actual days. If we spent all of everything outside of capacity with the revenue that was coming in that we budgeted. And right now I'm projecting us to finish at 11. So we are still trajectorying much better than what we budgeted, even though our enrollment is down. So we've got some budgeting practices in there that allow for contingencies, allow for cars running into our buildings. Hopefully we don't have any more of those. Let's be cautious, people. But But right now, the budget looks really good. I do have in there in the looking ahead for folks that are reading that. We've been talking about not needing to do a loan or doing an apportionment advance. In Reichdahl's presentation today, he stressed the importance of not doing apportionment advances at the state level. Had his reasons why. So along those lines, though, right now I'm still saying we might not need to do that. We are very, very close. What's very good to hear is that this time last year in January, we had an apportionment advance of $13 million. We had a $10 million loan from the Capital Projects Fund that we'd started in December. And this fiscal year, we did not do the loan yet. We still have yet to do that. But with the loan and with the apportionment advance last year, if we exclude those from our balances at the county, we would have had a negative $11 million balance with the county. And this year we have about a $500,000 buffer. And so we've made great, great progress on our fund balance with the county. We've made great progress with our cash balance at the county. And I may be coming to you and asking for a movement of our funds from capital projects to general fund, just because a $500,000 buffer is not really a comfortable place to sit. We might move that money temporarily in March, pay it back in March, and find that we did not need to do it, period, because we are doing much better with our spending decisions and the way the revenue is coming in. And so it still might be a prudent decision to do, just to ensure that we maintain that healthy balance with the county, don't have them, don't upset that relationship that we have with the county. They've been wonderful to work with. And this is not something I would want to ruffle. And so I may be coming out once we find more information about what's going to happen with January apportionment. And I believe that is all I have. Any questions?
This is first, Ken Spencer does a really good job, I think, too.
Yes.
The idea is that we are in the black, but just like my checkbook at home, we just want to maybe move some from savings over to checking, just to make sure that for cash flow in 1 month, we don't get close to, to a cash flow issue. And then at the end of the month, we just put it back.
Correct.
We get the apportionment.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
We're going to need to get through January and February. February is going to be another low month. Also in the packet, I try and talk about some of the upcoming months and what we can expect. January is going to be a higher month. January, we always see a loss. Always. With the changes in how we've been spending and some of the changes that happen, even staffing over this year, we're breaking trend. And that's one of the encouraging things that I'm seeing too, and why I'm thinking we could move the funds and not have needed to do it, because we're seeing reduced spending, and so we're breaking the trends. But January's always a loss. February is going to be a high payroll month. That's when our employees are allowed to do their sick leave buyback, and that's all state employees in education. Once they have a healthy sick leave balance, they're allowed to sell back sick leave. And so that typically is a heavier payroll month, one of the heaviest payroll months that we have. And then at the end of the year, we have another high one. So.
Sounds really good. Thanks.
Any other questions for Travis?
I have a quick one, and I you may not have this information, and that's fine. Just kind of came to me as you were talking about the just the moving, as Rick said, from savings to checking or whatever. And you're looking ahead, you had a little paragraph about what we did in 2023, 2024 about, the move 10 million over. What do we have in that capital, the fund, you know,
Yes.
how much would be there? You said we have 500,000 at the county for our operating right now, but what do we have for the
So
capital?
on the very last page of the packet, you should see where our fund balances are for each of the funds.
Got it. Thank you.
I believe that one was at 16 million.
16.7.
We have, so one of the questions that you've asked, and I have them written down on an email. I know we have about $5.5 million of undesignated money that we can start looking at some projects that we can do. And so we've already got some projects in place that we're working on with some of the elementary schools, and specifically Jason Lee, correct? Yep. So we have those some playground work at Jason Lee that's already in the works, and we've got some other stuff that's already in the works. About 5.5 in undesignated funds. We've got some money that's going in for tech. I did ask Ken if we can hold off until March on when we can actually spend those dollars, because if we're going to move, what I'm going to ask is probably anywhere between $2 to $5 million to move, not a $10 million loan. It would be a much smaller amount. We just need to provide that padding through February. We'll set it right back in March. And so we have the balance to be able to do it. And we have some undesignated money that we can start really working on some of our projects.
Great. Other questions? I think one of the things that's really notable for me, Travis, is when we started talking about this last year with some of the challenges, and we look back in our fund balance. Previously, we had a fund balance of over $8 million that we kind of carried from year to year. And that's not a big portion of our budget. So I know your target is to get even better than that. But, you know, I think given the fact that we ended a couple of years ago with $1 million in the bank, we got up a little bit over 3 this last year, and now you're projecting 7.5. I think that is just a huge gain for the district, because it means we're not only spending less than we bring in, but we're saving, right? Putting money into savings for the rainy day. So I think you guys are doing a great job with that, and hopefully it provides some comfort with the community for the levy that there's, you know, good fiscal responsibility right now in the district going forward with how we spend taxpayer money.
Yes, and actually that's a great caveat and lead into next presentation is when I'm going to be presenting my financial framework. And I'm going to be going through the components of that, what that really looks like from an operational standpoint as we build the budget. One thing I want to make clear is it's a budgetary framework. It's a plan for how we build our budgets. And obviously we want to stick to our budget plan. What could happen, all the unknowns that happen, that could affect the actuals. But when we build the budget, this is going to be the groundwork on how we build the budget and what we're targeting for the year. And in there, I've been working on providing some of what, if we're able to do that, what the projections are. And we want 8% by 2030. And if we stick to the framework, we will meet that. We will actually be back to when we were very healthy back in 13, 14. We're going to be right along those lines by that date.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, the presentation. It's the next meeting, right? We're doing that.
In 2 weeks. Any more questions for Travis?
No, the only thing I want to just reiterate again is Travis has done a great job depicting the financials over the course. And if anybody has any questions or wants to go through and follow the progress that the district has made, I suggest you go back in through board packets and look at the financial updates from when we started this process to where we are now. It's very transparent. It's very easy to read, and it's super detailed. And if there is any questions that anybody has, Travis is really good about answering those questions and make sure that there's a complete understanding of where it went and how it goes and where we're going forward. So I really appreciate that, Travis. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Travis.
Yeah.
We will move on to our operations staffing trends.
Good evening. We've put together a very colorful PowerPoint for everybody. So
A lot of scatter trends, a lot of scatter charts in there though.
Yeah, yeah.
Like shotgun went wild.
So if, do I have the clicker? I don't know what to do with this. Is this the clicker?
It's like a walkie-talkie.
There we go. Which button?
Green.
Yeah, perfect. We'll go to slide 2 here. Okay, so the purpose of this presentation, we're going to try to provide a clear picture of staffing trends over the last 4 or 5 years, explain how staffing investments are distributed, and clarify the differences between building level and district level staffing. And overall staffing levels, we're going to be able to show that those have trended downward over time. Reductions have been intentional and are aligned with our budget realities, and the focus remains on strong instructional services. So here you can see the different bargaining groups we have within the district. So ASG, which is an administrative support group, you can see in 2019-20, they were 44, and then over the next couple of years, they were up at 54, and in 25-26, we're sitting at 36. So again, a reduction there, Same with food services. You can see that in 23-24 and 24-25, they peaked in the 84 range, and then 25-26, they're down to 74. You're going to be seeing this trend across the board with MOT, OP. MOT is maintenance, operations, transportation. OP is office professionals. The paraeducators, you can see the same trend where they peaked at almost 490, and now 25-26 are sitting about 411. And then REA is the teachers bargaining group. You can see again, their peak was 942, and now we're sitting about 897. Central admin, the peak year was 23-24 at 29. Now we're sitting at 22. And for building admin, you will see a reverse trend there. This is a principals and assistant principals. So with that jump to 49 is when Desert Sky came on board, and then we added assistant principals at the elementary levels to every building. So you can see that they have stayed steady at that 49. But overall, the staffing trends over the last 4 years have shown that we have had a decline.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are there years missing, or is it?
Are the years missing?
So there's benchmarking to 2019 to 20 because enrollment has been sort of flat.
I'm sorry.
So
we left out the COVID.
yeah.
Okay.
They left out the
sorry.
COVID years.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for pointing that
I was
out.
just,
Forgot
wait a
that.
minute, what happened? I mean, I was assuming it has stayed the same, right? The COVID years just kind of stayed static, but.
Well, that was when it started to grow.
Right.
And then.
Okay.
What's that?
I want to add, those peak years for 23, 24, 24, 25, those were also very high enrollment years that we saw here. We're obviously seeing this big drop this year, but last year and the year before that, we had higher enrollment numbers, and that also shows that our staffing is somewhat in alignment with enrollment,
Administrative
and
support
we're also
group.
making further changes to keep as we're looking at.
Hey, Ken, can you explain a little bit what ASG is when administrative support group, like who falls in that?
So that would be, I guess, a higher skill set, more specific skill set than the OP group, the secretarial group. So maybe more specific skills in accounting,
like bookkeepers,
and stuff along those lines. Although bookkeepers would fall under OP, but like with Travis, I think you have one ASG. It's just I don't want to say higher level, but it's a different skill set than than
office
OT.
professionals.
Yeah,
So
more specific.
ASG and office professionals sort of fall into the same thing, but they do
They're different
different things.
bargaining groups,
So it's, oh, they are different.
I don't want to say they fall in the same thing because they do have very specific job duties that fall within their bargaining.
So what's an example of an ASG, a job title?
Payroll.
Okay.
Public records or public records.
Yeah.
Are they spread across the different buildings of the district, or are they mostly here?
Mostly here.
Mostly here.
But I believe we do have some ASG down at MOT as well.
So like in each department, they have a budget analyst. Would that fall under ASG? Okay.
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 So like I said, it's just a more specific skill set area.
So it's not really a clerical position. It perhaps is more of a, not a manager, not a director, but also not clerical. Okay.
Yeah.
That helps. Thank you.
Okay. And so in the next several slides, we're going to see some data that will show that staffing investments are concentrated at the building level. Resources are directed towards classrooms. So we're trying to make sure that, we're focused on class size reduction as much as possible. It will not reflect that the district office staff is growing. It will show the opposite. And classroom staffing decisions drive the majority of our staffing costs. And then on the administration side, central office staffing is lean compared to peer districts. So we'll see that in the next few slides. District administration is not driving budget pressure, and organizational structure prioritizes schools over central office growth, and administrative staffing has remained stable or declined, as the previous chart showed as well. So with that, we'll have Travis go over his graphs.
So Rick, you mentioned there's a lot of scatter charts, and there are a lot of scatter charts, but I'm not talking about each of these scatter charts on an individual basis. You can look at the scatter charts. You'll see at the top there are going to be 8 total for each, the teacher group and then the central administration group. The intent of this is to show how we have been staffing as far as assignments, and then 4 scatter charts will show that. And as I scroll through them, I'm going to try and scroll through them rather fast. We are the blue dot. And I think as you scroll through them fast, you can see the movement, and then to see how they align. But then particularly looking at the latest year, the 24, you'll be able to see how we are in comparison with all of the peer districts, 4,000 students or 10,000 students plus. Okay. And those are all the gray dots. Okay, so there's Richland and then there's the gray dots. The information comes from the S27 report. And so what the S27 report is it is a October 1 snapshot of employees on contract. And this is the #1 report that Human Resources send to the state every year. It is the report that we update for apportionment reasons that help with K-3 compliance, PSES compliance, and it used to be the driving factor for the staff mix factor, and I'm going to make a plug that we get that put back in. So it is a very critical report, and I think the best report that we can look at to find apple comparison with our peers. And so with that, going through teacher assignments, again, we are the blue dot, and as you cycle through the years, you can see, I'm going to go back, we grow and then we drop. And as we grow to the right, if you see movement to the right, that is enrollment. And then the y-axis is the number of assignments. And so then you can see here, last year we dropped for teacher assignment. And in comparison, this is very much in line, I think, as I read it, with our peer districts as far as teacher assignments. When we move to salaries per students, this is where, again, going through rather quickly, you see the growth and then a drop. As we study the 2024, you can see we are salary per student, and particularly in basic education, non-special purpose programs. And the reason that we've pulled those out and are looking specifically at those is because we already know our neighboring districts, Pasco and Kennewick, we talk about all the time, they receive more funds because of their demographics, about $40 million more in funding for special purpose funds, programs. And so obviously they're going to have more students that they're serving, more assignments, and they're also going to have greater, I'm going to say salary per student because of the funding. And so I removed that to try and get the best apple to apple comparison. Okay. So you have the scatter chart to look at how we are with the neighboring districts, and then central admin, same sort of deal. Did I keep that on there? I did keep that on there. Central admin, I'm gonna announce a mistake on this slide. This is not basic education, non-special purpose, because typically you have your one directors that are serving all the programs, and you have a lot of folks at the classified level. And so what this is looking at is certificated classified plus benefits when we talk about, certificate and classified employees assignments here at the central, at what would be considered the central admin grouping that I always show during the fiscal updates. And so here again, 21, 22, 23, and then significant drop as far as assignments go. And you can see how we are again in comparison with the peers as far as how many assignments we have at central admin versus again our peers.
And
when we're looking
Travis, when you say assignments, you mean individuals, right?
Contracts, folks that are filling positions.
Okay.
Looking at taking the total salaries that are being paid, dividing that by the enrollments, same sort of look with the teachers, how we compare. You can see there is a jump and then the drop. Noticing as far as central admin, salaries being paid divided by students, we are one of the very lowest amongst our peers of 10,000 students plus. And so I think that's something of note as we're looking at these reports. And then we'll move on. How it relates also, I'm not sure if we've shown this, specifically expenditures to revenue. I've talked about this in the past with, I think, a different scatter chart. What I'm showing here is at the central admin, again, total expenditures as it relates to the percentage of revenue, right? And so the total amount that we're spending at the central admin level as far as the revenue, total revenue that we are receiving, state, federal, and local. You can see at Richland, we're well below the state average. Trying to calculate this. This particular chart looks at F196 year in financial information for 24-25. And so running those activities that hit the central admin expenditures, specifically in salaries and benefits, the state runs an average right around in that 5.5 range. And we're sitting last 5 years much, much lower, more at like a 4.7 range. And then last year specifically, 4.2% of our revenue went to central admin, which was a full 1.2% lower than the state average.
Okay, I'm running anchor leg tonight. So my charge is to connect the dots, so to speak, no pun intended. One of the principles and what we're trying to do here is keep the dollar as close to the student as you know well. You can only spend that dollar once. And so we're trying to invest in direct services to students when we're budgeting. Below average spending occurs at the district administration level. as Travis said, when compared with our peers, we are one of the lowest. And then budget alignment efforts, focusing those on building level staffing models. As Simon Sinek talks about this golden circle, everybody knows what budget is. It's revenue in and revenue out, and it's what we intend to spend. Really what we're talking about is how that money is spent on staffing, the return on investment, and really why we're doing it is in service to students. And so keeping that students first mentality and spending money where we can see a direct impact to students. So let's see if I can work this. All right. To dovetail this with the human capital audit as well as the job description audit, looking at strengthening our financial position and developing sustainable models for staffing that really don't change those services to students. And so really there's a whole host of things we can consider in that. So we're looking at aligning the staffing with the unique needs of each building and really deliver the outcomes that the stakeholders of Richland School District have come to expect. And so, we want staffing that's equitable and really focused on excellence in all of our buildings. And then really reducing, I think the other conversation here is Travis was able to present this idea about data-driven decision-making, looking at the numbers, considering all the factors in that, and really what we can do, how we can staff things and configure staffing that's in service to students. So I think that to punctuate this or the takeaways, the staffing, we're moving in the right direction budgetarily. We are lean and mean at the district office. And so I think one of the maybe unintended purposes of this is to kind of punctuate that point that, you want staffing that I guess is bottom heavy, focused on students, direct services to students, and kind of lean up top. And, those data points actually demonstrate that. And so I think that we just want to punctuate that we are trying to focus our budgeting efforts and staffing efforts to serve kids. And then so I think that there is some compelling data in here around central office staffing. We're going to continue to visit this as we walk through the human capital audit and job description audit. So questions, comments?
Yeah, I'll start. There's been a lot of talk in the community, about these topics. So this is really, really good to put it out here. And I mean, I hate to say in black and white, but you see it is in black and white. I think it's interesting because in an effort to kind of track some of this information down just myself, I went onto the publicly available, just the Washington, fiscal.wa.gov and tried to find some of these same comparisons. I didn't do it with just necessarily the peers of size. I did it with kind of our neighbors and such, and came to exactly the same things, same conclusions you did about where we stack against that state average and against other districts around. And so I think it's really good work and appreciate you guys putting this all together and presenting it to us. I think it's important for us to take looks at this and kind of just evaluate ourselves from time to time. And this was really good information to get out here for us.
Questions?
It was a good presentation.
I have one quick question. So when we talk about using the district's transition into data-driven framework and the needs and looking at the thing, as we go along, will there be like a rubric or like somehow where we determine, because we know that all our schools aren't the same, and depending upon the demographics of the school, they have different needs based on that. Is that like the ongoing process of moving forward when we look at this to really be able to put the nuts and bolts to, and I know there's never a perfect science to that, but really just to ensure that when we're making these decisions, we're making the decisions on what the overall needs of the student population is, not necessarily so much the adult population.
Yeah, I think that there's I'll just speak to, kind of my perspective. There's twofold on that, we are looking at assessment scores, we are looking at demographics, we are looking at a number of those different things. But I know it says, we aren't going to rely too heavily on some of the anecdotal data, but that's important because our teachers sometimes will say, our students need support in this area. So really trying to equip our faculty and our staff members with the right resources and the professional development opportunities so that they can, assist students in that learning process. So I do believe that there's a balance that, it is kind of, we've discussed before. We're going to listen and we're going to try and, look at our data and make those informed decisions. I'll tell you as board members, resource allocation and the development of the budget and working with your superintendent finance director is some of the most important work that you do. And it's tough to make decisions when things aren't as stable as what you would like them. And it's tough to invest in the right areas when things aren't as stable.
Well, and that's one of the areas of concern. Because I want to make sure that we use a combination of best practices and voices of those with boots on the ground. But how to keep that balanced, because we know teachers with their hearts always want additional aspects and help in certain areas. So hopefully there's tools out there that we can look at, and with your guys' expertise on how do we balance that? How do we really take the voices of the people with the boots on the ground that says we need X, Y, and Z, but we only have funding for X and Y? And how that impacts the students and how we measure how that impacts the students.
Yeah, Travis has some great data sets on, and I think he was with his family in California when I presented the first time. But he's looking at districts that are performing well academically, but also those that are financially stable. And so that juxtaposition is important. You actually want both to have a highly effective district in all areas. Mm-hmm. And so I think both of those are, great conversations to have. I mean, if you have a robust reserve, but you're not really, your kids aren't performing well, that's an issue. Yeah. And then if your kids are performing well, but shaky and you're reducing in force and things like that, that's not good either.
So that's what I said. I mean, it's so important to be fiscally responsible, but not at the expense of the outcome of the students to the degree that it becomes detrimental.
Right. And I think this is where our partnership is going to be like fun in this work. I really enjoy this work and analyzing data. I've been making that comment. I don't know how to teach kids, but I know how to manage money. And I'm learning how to better allocate resources in conversations with Matt and with Ken on how are we best utilizing our dollars and how are these dollars actually working in the classroom. And these guys are doing a great job of educating me on that, but then also their conversations and obviously Ken's experience in the district too, knowing and having some of these relationships we're going to be able to work on the staff plan together. I'm going to be looking at some of these data points again, what school districts are doing academics well, what school districts are doing finances well, where can we see some of the trends as far as those that are doing both, or is there a middle ground, and maybe have that help set some of the parameters for what we can work within. And it's going to be a project, but it's going to be a fun project.
Great. Thanks so much. That was a great presentation.
Other questions? I think I just have one other comment related to your bullet on the last slide about reducing reactive decision-making. When you're in a budget crisis and you need to cut money, you cut salaries, you cut positions as they happen. I'm really interested in some of the data-driven frameworks for the staffing, both at the building level as well as central admin, because I know we let a lot of positions attrit when we were having budget troubles, but we don't know if we let the right ones sort of a trick to not backfill. And when we look at highly performing districts and fiscally responsible districts and how they staff central admin, do we have the right complement of people? We may have this sort of total budget in alignment, but we may not have the right sort of portfolio of work. We may have people doing 2 jobs and some people doing, jobs that are kind of peripheral to meeting those outcomes that we need for the students. And I think that's where your human capital audit with the position description audit and staffing trends will be really helpful in even letting us look at central admin and see maybe we have positions that are not being filled effectively where we need to add. And maybe that doesn't mean we cut something, or maybe that means we move some things around, but I think there's still an opportunity to figure that out.
Yeah, that configuration is so important.
Yeah.
And how you staff things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys.
Next item is the facility planning timeline update.
Yeah, so when I originally presented the long-term facilities plan, I proposed a completion date of July of 2026. That was before we partnered with Concertus to help go through the process. And so after working with them and kind of looking at the whole process and making sure we have enough time to gather plenty of community feedback and staff feedback, we're recommending that the completion date is December of 2026. So we have more time for thorough and collaborative engagement with staff, families, and community stakeholders, and provides additional time for deeper analysis of facility needs, enrollment trends, and cost modeling. So I'm asking or recommending that we move the date from July of 2026 to December of 2026. I guess ask for board approval of that.
Questions?
Just comment. I like I would rather do it right than fast. And if it especially allows us to have more dialogue and collaboration with the community, I think that's the right thing to do as well. So I like this approach better.
I do have a quick question on this.
Mm-hmm.
On the document in the packet here, you have the different phases, like 5 different phases there.
Right.
So are we going to be able to see some of the deliverables as those phases complete? We're not just waiting until December to see the final deal. Right? We're going to kind of see it staged as it comes along, right?
Yeah, so we'll give updates, probably if not monthly, every other month, for sure, as we go through the process.
Any other questions?
Want a motion? Do you need a motion? It's just,
Or do you
just
just
want
need
I don't think we
consensus?
need
I think you just
I
need
just
give you a big
consensus.
thumbs up. Good job.
Yeah, you
Okay.
got a big thumbs up.
Yep.
I can go with that.
It's good. You change.
Thank you.
And I just want to, in addition to that, I just want to do a shout out to you and the staff working on that, Ken, because you could have left it the way it was and everybody would have been stressed and everybody would have been trying to figure out who was on first. And I totally agree with Rick. And let's make sure we're doing things the right way, even if we have to adjust some timelines.
All right, now we are up to the ledge session update. So Rick?
Or I guess
Kick us
I will
off.
start. We spent a few days listening to state reps, and Chris Reichdahl didn't show up, but
Shocker.
He didn't even send a message. However, the state reps did, and Lieutenant Governor gave a great speech about it as well, Denny Heck. But over the next few years, I'm going to get some of the numbers wrong, and Travis is going to shake his head. So if I get numbers wrong, it is okay to interrupt me. But we're $4 billion plus down for the next 4 years in our state budget. They're getting another revenue projection in March. They're hopeful that that will save their bacon. They didn't quite say it that way. They're hoping to have not as much, less money that they have to figure out. This is a short session. So we're expecting no new money at all. They're doing a few things with schools that don't affect us. They're doing some things with small school grants for construction because they have extra construction money, I think. We are asking them, we being most of the education community, to pause all new changes in policy. No new unfunded mandates, let the system rest. And even if they think it doesn't cost money, we still have to put staff to things to make changes and policies and things like that. It does cost us money. So we told them to leave us alone. I don't know how the LEA promise affects us. Okay, so I'm not even talking about that. We're good then. It was not hopeful. It's never hopeful when you listen to the legislators because they overcommit in other places. They forget what their paramount duty is, and then they come to us and wring their hands and say, oh, it's so difficult. But is that negative enough? I don't think that they're going to do any harm this time. Unless they give us some unfunded mandates, but that's pretty universal. Don't do unfunded mandates. There is a meeting every week at I think it's noon on Fridays, and WASDA staff, our government affairs people, will tell you what's happening this week in Olympia, the bills that are moving or not moving, and any potential dangers they see. I think Melissa Gomboski also watches that for us as well. But noon is kind of an open webinar where people can just, I don't know if it's on Teams or Zoom or whatever, but generally they have a couple hundred people that listen to that every week. Anything else?
It's on Zoom.
It's on Zoom?
Yeah, you can sign up for it. There's a couple different options. Sort of to add on what Rick mentioned, that's sort of the goal of the primary organizations, WASA, WASBO, and WASDA. Administrators, business officials, and then school directors, just asking the state to just hold the line. In Ferguson's budget, he looked at removing a couple things, LEA assistance and transition to kindergarten. Transition to kindergarten does not affect us, but it affects a lot of people.
It affects districts around here, though.
Yeah, it does affect districts around here, but also in addition to the transition to kindergarten, he's looking at reducing funding in all birth to kindergarten.
So why doesn't it affect us?
Because we used to, and then we don't do transition to kindergarten because we have the ELC, Early Learning Center. It just didn't make sense to do both at the time because of the drain. But his ask is to reduce funding in both of those, and actually that entire arena of birth to K, which we know best practices and statistically saying that birth to K is almost as important as K through 12 in making sure that kids are ready to learn. The other thing is there's already 300 bills that have been submitted to the legislation. Most of those do not pertain to education, but that doesn't necessarily bode positively, because that means that there's bills that are asking for revenues from other areas that can ultimately be picked out. The school directors and the organizations across the board have continued to reiterate that the paramount duty of Washington State is to provide ample funding. One of the messages that we were sending, ample funding doesn't necessarily mean a percentage of the budget. That's consistently gone down. Right after McCleary, we invested about 50% of the overall state budget into education. Now we're back down to about 42%. The point we're making is I don't care if that's 30%. I don't care if that's 40%. I don't care if that's 75%. The Constitution says that they will be amply funded. So that's, sort of one of the pushes there. The other thing is this last speech that Reichdahl did on his press conference, I'm not always in total agreement with some of the things he said, but I will say that this time he did put a lot of pressure on the legislation and also discussed about how Washington State is 10th from the bottom on all the states in the United States in what they invest back from their budget and what they return back into education. We're also the only state that has paramount duty to amply fund public education. So there's a lot of in and out talk, a lot of side talk, a lot of backstepping. I just think it's really important for the community and everybody involved in that to keep pressure on our legislators and remind them what is important. And the unfunded mandates is critical. When we were doing our levy presentations, you'll see that a majority of our levy dollars that are supposed to go back into the classroom for student outcome is delivered into unfunded mandates, being that underfunding special education, being that insurance benefits. Transportation for us isn't a huge one. Special education is a huge one. MSOCs is a huge one. As those rates have grown, the legislation has not kept up with those increases. They've pretty much maintained flat. The other thing is the elimination of the salary schedules. They tell us what we have to pay. Just changing and implementing experience updates will make a huge difference. And reevaluating the factors that we're using for the prototypical school model. Not so much completely revamping it because that's a huge project. A much quicker, easier fix that we can put pressure on them is to just go in and look at the factors that we are multiplying based on what student need is. So this is going to be a really interesting session, to say the least, because it is a short session, just like everybody in the state, be it school districts or the state. Funding is not spread thick enough, but like households need to do, you make decisions and you pick the most important aspects. And so hopefully we can count on no additional funding so that we can keep moving in the same area. One other thing, and I probably should have done this in the other one because it's sort of legislative, but we did our board of directors meeting as well with WASDA, where we talked about all the things, and that was kind of the kickoff on there. But really remembering for school districts and administrators and everybody to keep the focus. And what our focus is basically is, of course, student outcome and how we can most move the needle on making sure that our students are getting what they need.
That's it.
And stay positive, because it's not very positive out there right now.
One more sideline. So we sat at the WASBO table with the executive director for the state organization for business officials. And Travis is like the golden child of the state.
Yeah, I do.
All
kinda.
of these WASBO accountant kind of people are singing his praises. That's one thing. Second thing is I watched Travis explain budget to Jill.
Okay, well, I wish I had Mary's cane right now.
Huh? Yeah. But he did a great job. He did a really good job, right?
Yeah, no, he always does a really good job. The thing that I love about Travis is sometimes I'll do devil's advocate because I'll push, because even though I don't understand school financing as well as a lot of people like Travis, it's incredibly complicated. It's incredibly complicated. And so when somebody comes along and talks about, explain school finance to me, well, that's a 6-month, 600 level college class basically. So I'll kind of pick a little bit and ask questions that I know that the public needs to have explained in a more novice.
You didn't know
simple.
the answers.
Huh?
You didn't know all the answers.
Oh, I don't know.
I've been doing this
90%.
a quarter of a century.
Yeah, I don't know
And
90%
He showed
of the
me
answers.
some things. Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, nice job. Nice, really good job for a surface.
For a what guy?
Not a submarine Navy guy.
I'll smack him for you two, Travis.
It was really, really good, Travis.
He is very, very well respected within the state.
And taught us, both of us,
Yep.
not just Joe, but taught a lot of it. I didn't know a lot of what you were talking about. And he has his computer out even at dinner, showing us the
he's like-
numbers, and it was easy to understand.
And he really likes it. He gets like super excited when
Oh,
he
he
talks
uses
about
that
it.
word fun all the time.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. When we ask for data,
Nice job.
he's like, it's fun. Yeah. Any questions for Rick and Joe? No? Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do that on a weekend, because serving on the board is a lot of work anyway. So taking additional weekends, I just thank you guys for putting that time in, because it is a lot.
It was really good. I mean, I'm not sure I like the format, but I think the information is good.
It's good.
Awesome.
Well, and I also think it's important for us being on the east side of the state to maintain that voice. Because at the end of the day, we all pretty much want the same thing for our kids. It's just depending on how we get there. And we need to make sure that we keep that conversation open.
Awesome.
If I can make the comment, Jill, I appreciate that you spoke up about the state funding model. I want to make it clear from my perspective, we keep saying that it's broken, and it is broken, but it's broken because the factors. Those factors, when they were put in place, they were supposed to be reevaluated. They were supposed to be modified throughout the life of the prototypical school model. And some of the conversations I've been hearing is it's so broken, we're not going to take the time to fix it. And that's why legislature has been sitting on it. And if we can maybe break it down and say, okay, well, the model is not broken. It just needs to be adjusted to the need. That is the communication that we need to be sending. I am afraid of legislature saying it's broken and then finally breaking it completely, putting something in a model that is completely not fitting. And some of the concern I have are some of the weighted model ideas I think would be very detrimental to us specifically. And so anytime I'm in those conversations, I'm going to be speaking up on behalf of the broken school funding model and trying to update those factors because it works. It just hasn't been updated.
Yeah, factors are way off.
Yeah, great point, Travis.
Well, and that's also in regards to that, when we were doing the levy presentations, you'll see that a large percentage of our levy dollars also go to fund staffing allocations that are not supported by the model. And like in Richland, our model is right around $20 million out of that budget that is based on there were some messages in regards to some of the positions that we've had to reevaluate and look at. Most all of the positions that we have outside of teachers are funded by the levy because the model, the factor, the way it is applied doesn't allocate for that. That's, psychologists, nurses. In fact, if we looked at the prototypical school model, I think a district our size would probably get 2 for the entire size of the district. So that's why those factors become so critically important, because then we're having to pull out of those levy dollars, which is really for student enhancement.
Okay. Anything else on legislative session?
Just keep your fingers crossed.
Okay.
Oh, and the other thing I want to do is I'll talk to BJ a little bit about this, but as we go through and there's certain bills and things that come up, I'm going to try and make it so that it's really easy for people to be able to sign up, both community members and board members and staff, to testify, because you now don't have to be in Olympia to do those things. So if there are stories, and individual stories make a much bigger impact than numbers and data. If you have students or individuals that are immediately affected by one of the bills that are coming up, that's when it's really beneficial for us to actually speak to the legislation during that time period.
So I just remembered something. I in my other job as the booster president at Richland High School, I got an email from a PTO member in the district who has put together a legislative survey for parent teacher organizations, and sent it to me. But I was just gonna kind of put it out to the general district, population. If you're interested in filling out a survey about legislative priorities, you can send an email to board feedback and I'll send you the survey. I know the local PTOs and PTAs have been asked to put that out to their schools, but I don't know how far it's getting spread or whatever. So if anyone's interested in weighing in on legislative priorities for this student advocate group, then board feedback, send me your email and I will send you the survey.
That's really good.
Great, Bonnie. Appreciate that. All right, we will move to our board discussion time. We created this agenda item so that the board can have discussion about topics that have come up. And this is not a decisional period. This is just an opportunity to bring up topics that we would want to have further discussion, further decisions on at later meetings. So if there are topics that folks would like to raise.
I only have the one brought up by Kayla, which is the YouTube response. I didn't know about that. I'm interested in what our practice is and what the policy should be and whatever changes we need. So for me, that would be something I'd like to see on a future agenda.
I'd like to see that maybe even if it makes sense to everybody, combined, with the topic I asked about a meeting or two ago about getting on some future agenda, about looking at the usage of our devices at each level, is the secondary and the primary levels. And, separate middle school and high school, and then separate that obviously from the elementary schools as well.
Yeah.
Because it's possible, I think very possible that we look at it and decide, what, the middle schoolers don't even need to be walking around with their Chromebooks all the time. That it might be something they take out on an as needed basis during class.
Right.
I think that is something I wrote that down too when Kayla was talking, because that is one thing that a lot of parents have reached out to me about is concern about Chromebook use. And it's really hard. I know we try to have all these filters and blocks and whatever, but kids are smarter than we are, and they know how to get around that kind of stuff. And right? Am I right?
Yeah.
So
we had fourth graders talking about doing coding, and I had no idea what they were talking about.
So I just think that there are a lot of parents, I know, we kind of swung really far to this electronics, replacing everything kind of thing that was trendy. And I think that the pendulum is swinging back the other way, and parents are really concerned about device usage. We want our kids on phones less. We want our kids on devices less. And I think that that's something that we need to look at school too. And it might actually cause us a lot of grief, because we use Chromebooks for everything. Nobody carries around school books anymore. Textbooks are all on your Chromebook. But I know that kids are sitting there with their little invisible earbud in and listening to music or playing games or doing whatever while they're supposed to be doing something else. And there's really not much we can do about it. If they have a Chromebook out, they're going to be doing it. And in high school, maybe you can rely on them to be a little more responsible for their own education. But I think in elementary school, I just think Chromebooks should probably not hardly ever be out. I know in my granddaughter's school in California, they're only allowed to use Chromebooks on Friday for 1 hour. And other than that, they never have them out. She's in second grade.
I agree with Dan. Let's talk about it as a whole also, but I think we need to answer the specific question as part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But my kids who have kids now really limit screen time. And one of the presentations we went to at the annual conference talked about screen use and impact on kids. And I remember the speaker saying, in 20 or 30 years, we may be saying, why did we give these to our kids? And he compared it to cigarette smoking in the 1950s versus now. And I'm not an expert on any of this, but I know my grandkids are better behaved when they don't do a lot of screen time.
I think there's more and more research coming out. I know I was listening to a podcast that was interviewing the president of WSU, and I was listening to it from the sports perspective, but she was talking about a book that she was reading at the time about device usage and the dopamine hits that the brains get, and how that's not good for the development of the brain as we're going through this stuff. So it's probably a book I'm going to go find and read myself. And
Is it The Anxious Generation?
I can't remember, but I'm going to go back and
that it was. It's really good.
Listen or read it. Because I think there's a lot out there on this topic. And as a parent, I'll just say, my son's in 8th grade and he does not have a cell phone. And at home, we limit him to 20 minutes a day on a tablet, and that's it. And I believe strongly in this, and I think we should be looking at it in the schools as well.
Do you have
Okay,
something
so
else?
we'll.
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead. And then I have
Well,
something
I
too.
was gonna say, a couple teacher friends in the high school have told me of the latest problem is the meta glasses that have come. And I know Tori sent us something about this coming up. And so the issue is their prescription lenses, their meta glasses, and the kid was like, you know, who knows what, right? She's just like, I don't know. Like he's saying, like, I could be filming you right now. I could be, you know, kind of showing off these glasses, but there's all kinds of implications for he could be looking up answers on his glasses or whatever.
Yep.
Right.
And so anyway, just something to put on your policy list. We got to figure it out, right? I mean, it's done. It's on there.
Yes, we wrote that into our electronic communication devices policy. And so all the principals know that those meta glasses are not allowed in school, just like your phone's not allowed in school. Same
Great.
policy.
Okay. I'll make sure my teacher friends know because
meta glasses.
Yeah,
freaking, it was like
last
right.
week,
It was
I think I
right
sent that
after
out.
school started. Like the kid got them for Christmas or something, and came back to school the first week and was just like freaking everybody out.
Yeah, we've been we've had a few of these that have come back after Christmas, but yeah, so that we talked about it as a district at our level, and we're like, it looks like it ropes into the it can qualify in the communications, electronic communications
Like a
policy
phone.
that you guys already did,
Yeah.
and that's what our phone policy is. Yes.
Perfect.
Because you can shut off the meta portion of the meta glasses, right?
I don't know. Just get different glasses.
You can, however, you can also turn it right back on, and when you get close to them, it automatically turns back on if you have your phone on you. There's a lot of different things.
So just wear
I've learned a
have
lot in the
school
last
glasses and home glasses.
Yeah,
you know?
Anyway, I'm gonna.
Also, I think we're going to need to revisit the phone thing because it's a little lax.
So at our next meeting, we have a presentation to talk about how things are going at the high schools, including cell phone policies, compliance, and some different things. So we can have that conversation next time. I agree with Rick. I think I'm hearing response to the YouTube sort of access and some of those requirements and restrictions. We'll talk about that to get a response, but more broadly thinking about Chromebook usage at different levels and have something that we can kind of plan some structured discussion around.
So
in the
one thing that we need to think about when we do that. So I can remember when everybody was all excited because we got one-to-one devices. Like we had one-to-one devices before even COVID hit. And because that was a big push in education, everybody wanted one-to-one. We're going to go there. This is all great. And of course, like everything else in education, it's like a pendulum, and then we go back and forth, and then we wonder why we never have any money because we're constantly spending money on new, bright, shiny objects of whatever that is. But one thing that I'm going to ask, and Shelley, this is like primarily for teaching and learning. What's the overall cost to us when we do decide to remove the Chromebook option? Because so much of our curriculum right now is web-based as opposed to paper and pencil. And what does that look like for a transition? Because I am absolutely all for K-5 not having Chromebooks other than a very small percentage of time, but I don't know how realistic that is, simply because of the way our curriculum is right now.
And testing too, which is interesting.
And
because
testing because because the state does that all.
iReady, and then the state is all.
Yeah. So
on the computer.
sort of what, as we're having this conversation, what are the consequences to the district financially when it comes to removing the reliance on
what would be the cost and realistic timeline for a transition
for a transition
to move back
to move out? Because
traditional.
I think we may have to do this in baby steps, and just like everything else, by the time we get to those baby steps, then everybody's going to want them back in again. Then we can go put them back in again. But just really thinking about that overall impact financially, because I definitely think it's better for kids not to have those devices as frequently as they do. And particularly, and like, I don't know what curriculum we do for, kindergartners. I don't think kindergartners should have them at all, because I don't think there's any curriculum on laptops that is there.
My first grader was administered a Chromebook on her first day. She's had it every day. Is on it over an hour every day.
Oh, we weren't giving Chromebooks to elementary schools anymore.
Yeah,
This year?
We'll do an update.
Okay. Yeah, so it just sounds like this is a really big, and there's a whole bunch of layers to this onion that we really need to look at. And like with Glenn, like just even the YouTube thing, how many of those options that kids are able to get on, do we need to have an opt-in or an opt-out? And I don't know, our firewalls are really strict because sometimes I can't even get into my email. Or I can't get into a Google Doc, or I can't get into something. So it seems like we ought to be able to some degree, within our Wi-Fi systems at school, eliminate what actual sites we can get to.
Yeah.
But that's Glenn's expertise, so I'm gonna
Yep, and he's
let
been
him run with
he's
that.
been spending hours on this trying to, and so we'll have him part of the presentation as well. It's not unique to Richland, this
No.
issue, in terms of all of the ways students are able to get around it. And he's spending hours on that. So
Right. So just that overall.
so
and it's an
breathe,
hour problem.
breathe, Glenn. I know
It's an hour problem, not a Glenn problem, per
Right,
se.
exactly.
Well, I mean, it's a combination of things, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's the IT portion of access and policies and restrictions, but then there's also the curriculum-based part of it.
Yep,
And
and
we
then the
saw in our school tours, classrooms of kindergartners sitting in front of laptops. And I tend to agree that they shouldn't have them. And I think, even as Rick said in reflection, my own kids got cell phones when they were maybe 13 because they were transitioning in a period of traveling sports, and we felt like we needed to get a hold of them. And we noticed that they stopped reading books.
Yep.
They never read another book after they got a phone. And if we could go back, we'd take the phones away.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to agree with what Jill's saying too, that aside from the YouTube thing, we can't rush into doing this. And so
Right.
however much time, staff and everybody
Mhm.
needs, that we're going to need to get the input from all the parties, the teachers and looking at the curriculum and stuff
Mhm.
before we start making changes
Right.
to it.
Right.
But we need to start at some point and
Yep.
get moving down that.
Right. Okay.
If we're done with that, I do have another discussion
Yep.
item.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this since I think it was our last meeting when we had somebody who was upset about the public comment period and the amount of time that we devote to that, and was thinking that I would like to see more ability for public comment. And there are some, you think about some of the city councils around and stuff that do it a little bit differently than we do, where they differentiate between the public comment that's just any sort of topic and public comment for stuff that's on the agenda. And I'd like to maybe discuss going to that type of a model, see how it works for us, to where we have the 2 minutes that are for anything. But if you're talking about something on the agenda, maybe your allowance is 4 minutes. We can still keep the maximum amount of time allowed for public comment the same, but it gives them more of a chance to communicate with us when they're talking about something that we already have in front of us.
We've done
We
that.
used to- we used- I was gonna say, we
let's
used to
bring
do
up and discuss how that's been done. But you're exactly right. We used to do public comment on every agenda item.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm proposing, just spreading it out through there.
It worked well.
Through it, but
You mean, so
whatever
Thursday,
works.
public comment, now we're gonna talk about staffing needs and people can make public comments about staffing?
At the end, yep. Is there any public comment on this?
Or at the beginning too. We used to do it.
They
We
could-
used to do it at the beginning, so we knew
We had
what.
both. I mean, it worked really well. I mean, we can talk about it later, but honest to goodness,
Like right off the
almost
top, I feel
nobody's
like I
going to
hate
come
that.
here and talk about staffing. You might get some teachers, you might get some people directly affected, and it's important to listen to that. But
And it helps
it worked
informs our
well.
decision.
Well, so maybe then maybe then you have a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end, but I would think it would be very distracting to have up and down and back and forth.
I mean, when we did it before, it would be, I think it was at the end, because that way, if they had questions that weren't answered when we did the thing, then we could follow it back up again. So you do your public comment, and then you're at the very bottom.
At the end of the business session.
At the end of the business section, there
End of
was
each
public
agenda
comment
item.
again.
It was
And
each agenda
it didn't come up
But We can talk about it.
So,
That's a
so,
good
so
thing.
maybe we could get some examples of kind of agendas that do that in some different ways, and we can have a discussion at a meeting about
Mhm.
whether we would propose a change to how we would structure our agendas to include that.
I didn't get a lot. We never got a lot of feedback, but if it was a really important community-driven decision,
Mhm.
that's when I would remember that we would just get some
Yeah,
additional comment.
I will say, if we have it after, I know I've been frustrated at other venues before where the public comment is after and it's been after a vote. Because you don't
Oh,
don't get to
Right.
share your information
We didn't
with
do it
the
after
decision
votes.
makers
We did it
In
before
between?
votes.
before. Yeah.
In between
Well,
the
but-
presentation and a vote?
Well, but we usually vote at the end of each one. So yeah, we do need to have a discussion and we'll get some samples because how do you, without
Worked really well. I can do it.
If,
doing it
I mean,
in and
if we structured it sort of consistently, that we just opened it for
Yep.
public comment
Yeah.
after each
Yes.
topic and specifically before there's a vote,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? We could just.
I think it
structure
would be
that
fine.
way.
And I mean, can I just say that I would like it if we still had only 30 minutes total of public comments because it's almost 9 o'clock right now and we didn't even have, we had only one public comment, right? So
Yeah.
like,
And before COVID was a different world. You really had to make people angry before they would show up and make public comments.
But I would say on a plus side of this as well, the Open Public Meeting Act would allow us to have back and forth discussion with the public comment if it's a topic on the agenda.
yes.
It would,
So-
but we didn't. It was still listening.
It was still listening only.
It would say, hey,
You can
you haven't
answer
taken
questions
into
for it.
account
Ask
this or this or
clarifying
this.
questions. Yeah.
Yes.
And it added to our knowledge.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I do think that would be, it could be really helpful.
And it
Okay.
was still limited in time.
Okay. No, I think that's good. We'll have that discussion too. Add that to a meeting. Okay. Anything else for discussion?
I just have one thing that I thought of when we were talking about how amazing Travis is at explaining school finances. I think this is another plug for either showing up to a town hall meeting or watching the presentation online, because I know like when I look at people's comments on social media about the ways that the simple fixes that we can fix all our budget problems. Well, you just need to do this or you just need to do that. And like everybody has acknowledged, school financing is completely impossible to be simple. And so there are not any simple fixes. Most of the simple fixes that people have for us are probably illegal, or something like that. I mean, that's what I found out when I had all the simple answers, right? Was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Can't do that. So I think listening to the way that Travis explains the money issues and the way that the financing works is so helpful to understanding the budgetary predicaments that we are in and how things work and why we need what we need and where all the money goes. And I think it's just really beneficial. Even if you already know you're going to vote yes, or you already know you're going to vote no, you would learn a lot and understand it a lot more just by listening to the way that it gets explained. So there you go.
Anything else for discussion?
No, we'll talk about one-on-one meetings,
Okay.
1-minute meetings next time.
Okay. And the
Um,
other things that we.
Okay. So then we will move on to our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from consent?
I would like to pull 4.7, the equivalent credit opportunities.
Same.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I'll move the remainder for
Okay.
approval.
Second.
All right. Then we will vote on consent minus 4.7.
Yes.
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 Okay. And come back to policy number 4.7, which is policy 2413, the equivalency credit opportunities. So
I pulled that off. So I went and had a conversation with Tori just regarding some of the feedback and some of my concerns with it and kind of how we reached a decision in regards to that. And I think one thing that I really want to reiterate for the staff and for us and for anybody else listening, when we sat down and determined that it was good for us to use the WASDA model policies, the primary reason behind doing that was to make sure that we had the ability to get our policies up to date, particularly those ones that had legal ramifications. so that we were actually in line with what Washington state law says. With that in mind, we just said, go ahead and put out the WASDA policies and then we'll go through. And one of the things I told Tori is a policy is only as good as a policy is when you actually need it. It doesn't do us any good when it's just written in ink and then you come and try and utilize it. And then you have all these holes that are blown in this policy because it didn't really do what it was supposed to do. So one thing I would encourage us to do as we go along and do these policies is whichever department or whichever department head is responsible for doing these policies to actually talk to the individuals prior to presenting it to us to make sure that the people with boots on the ground don't have problems with any of the wording or how it affects the students or how it has an impact within our district, which is sort of where this one came back in, because one of the conversations that we had is we wanted to make it so that you had to get at least a C or better in a class in order for you to have passed the first one. So in doing that, when Tori went through and had a conversation, there were some issues that got brought up or concerns that got brought up from the principals at the schools as well as the counselors, just because of the dynamics and what that looks like and how that determines whether or not a student is actually capable of graduating or not. So we had, some possibly different philosophical ideas about it, because I want to make sure that a student understands that the reason they're getting a grade isn't just because they came and tried to get a grade, that they actually had to learn something from that class, that they have a proficiency in that class in order to move forward. So there's certain ones like algebra and other ones where realistically, if you move on to the next one and you can get a D or a C or whatever, you can show proficiency in that. That's not necessarily the case all the time.
What are you proposing for this one then?
So this is, I don't know yet. So there's two options. If we go to the C minus and you want to do a C minus as opposed to a C because you want to make sure that you do it, that's going to limit a certain number of kids. And we can't put that into effect until 2028 because there are certain kids during the course period that have already been told that they can do that.
Well, we can put it into effect whenever we want, but we can decide which class we would.
Right, exactly where we would do it. The second part of that is so that it doesn't become such an option. And if we want to keep the higher level grade in there, C minus and above, rather than having them barely skirt through it and get through again, because I want them to work on it, is make it so that this equivalency only applies during your senior year if it affects your graduation. And you have to be enrolled in 6 periods. So let's say hypothetically you go in and you've passed or you failed one of the classes. You can only use this during your senior year. If you retake that on the second one, you have to get a C minus or better, and you have to be enrolled in a 6 credit schedule. And then only if the credit is required for graduation.
So I had a quick conversation with Tori this afternoon as well, because I responded to the email that we'd received from a counselor in the building and with concerns about what we were talking about here. And in thinking of it myself, there's some other information I'd kind of like to have. And where I'm struggling is that I haven't seen this firsthand. And so I'm having trouble kind of visualizing for myself the student who's used this. We got some statistics on that in an email, right? There were, say, 28 students that used this to graduate last year. But I'd kind of like to see a mock transcript of what their entire journey looked like through high school, how many credits they got by this method, how many other methods they used to try to recover credits. Did they go to summer school earlier in their career? Did they do any of the Apex learning opportunities that were out there? Because this is, I think, meant as a last resort. And I want to see that it was used as a last resort.
And I think we do have information that we got from Tori that this is not just being used as a last resort, right? Okay. So in making a decision about when this change gets implemented, right? We would have to decide the class of whatever is now impacted. So one example was right now we're looking at the class of 2026. We could choose to not apply it to the class of 2026 because they are about to graduate and they have no options between now and June to fix this problem based on a new policy change.
Sure.
Right. So, however, we asked if we change it for the class of 27, would that be sufficient? And the point that was made was actually, we already have students in the class of 27 who have used this equivalency credit as a sophomore to get credit for classes that they took first semester, like Algebra 1, failed it, took second semester Algebra 1, got a D, and got 1 full credit their sophomore year. And so my concern in how this is being applied is that now we have a sophomore who essentially failed Algebra 1. We declared victory with a D, gave them a full credit, and now we've moved them into geometry. How is a student supposed to succeed at geometry and then succeed at Algebra 2 if they actually failed Algebra 1, right? That's my problem with this. And so I think to Jill's point, if the intent of the policy is to use this to help a senior graduate as a last resort and they are taking 6 full classes, I would be more comfortable limiting the mastery-based credit in those circumstances to maybe a C-. I would be comfortable with that. I think my discomfort with having no grade level requirement is that it's being used with freshmen and sophomores, and they are not being given an opportunity to make that up or to learn it. The other thing that bothers me about this is I think about the word mastery. This is mastery-based credit. So if you look at our grade chart and you think of mastery, a D is a 60%. So if somebody, I mean, is it your opinion, if you think about mastery, that if you took a test on a subject and you failed 40% of the questions that you've mastered it? In my mind, that's not mastery. And I think it also sets our students up for failure because if you look at the testing requirements to get a GED, I actually looked that up. It is 72.5% to pass a GED to get a high school diploma. Why should we in a high school environment give them a diploma based on a 60% standard? So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I had thought of another option where we set it as a C, not even a C-, a C, and say that this is, if you get a C, we'll give it to you automatically. If you have something less than that, but still greater than an F, then it has to be approved by the principal. But at this moment, you know, you seem to you have some information I didn't have, right? I didn't have the information about being used as a sophomore, and I still don't, and I don't know in total which classes it's being used for and those types of things. I don't know that we need to do this right away, right? We can take more time on this, can we not? Because we're not talking about changing it for this year anyway.
Yeah.
So let's get all the information that we want.
I like
and
your reasoning, but
structure
I'd like
this.
to get more information on it and what are the impacts and.
I think too that I mean, I wasn't here when you guys talked about this policy, so I'm kind of just playing catch up. But I think that there's not a lot of, well, it's hard to guarantee consistency of what grades are. So like a C in one class is a D in another class. And so like that letter grade, it really doesn't mean a lot. Also, I think we're wildly underestimating the amount of kids who will have a lot of Ds. Like there's a lot of Ds out there. And sorry, that's
so,
true.
And I think that may be true, but I think one of the questions I had asked Tori last time is, have we ever set this standard before? And he said before COVID, that was the standard. And it was changed during COVID because kids had a hard time with school and Zoom and all of that stuff, so it was changed. So in my opinion, and what I've heard from a lot of parents is they feel like we've dropped our standards and it's way too easy now. And I know kids, if they are given a standard, they will meet a standard. And if they're given no standard, they will not meet a standard.
So let me just catch up really quick. So you don't get credit if you don't get a C-.
You wouldn't automatically get credit for the first one that you failed.
So before
to retake
COVID, the policy was you had to get a C.
Let me before COVID, this wasn't a policy at all. There was no grade. There was no, if you get the next higher class, you get the grade for the first semester. There wasn't one. During COVID, they came up with this one and then they kept it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm misunderstanding.
But to be fair, the WASDA model policy put this in there now to kind of bring us back to having some standard where before there was no opportunity for mastery-based credit at all.
Yeah, the equivalency credit was not available before COVID, happened during COVID, and it stayed. Okay. Correct.
And we're required to have something like this, right?
It's just an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. Okay.
Just an opportunity.
But we're not like the state has not mandated that we have.
Oh no.
Yeah, this one's not critical.
It's not required.
Yeah, it's not required. One other thing a question that I have, when this talks about mastery based, it does talk about it's mastery based.
It's mastery based.
Yeah, it's mastery based credit. So how can we provide a mastery based credit when the other classes aren't necessarily done mastery based? It's test based. You don't have to. Mastery based means that you have to prove in whatever manner. So is there a different measurement for this on the second one, or is it the same measurement that everybody else did?
Yeah, we're just talking about mastery / competency based credit.
So they're
a mastery
the exact same way.
What you're trying to determine is what a mastery is.
Right. So
mastery in this state's case is a D, and the mastery in your case is a C. If you're talking about this credit.
Well, right, but I guess it's the same measurement that everybody else in that class is utilizing. It's not special for this kid.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So they're given an extra opportunity that someone who didn't do that.
Yeah. The idea was that if you pass second semester of algebra, you have algebra 1 all year, you didn't pass the first semester, you pass the second semester. The idea was you must have some kind of knowledge about what you didn't pass first semester to be able to pass second semester. That's the thinking behind this rule.
So like if you get a F the first semester and then like third quarter, you get a C.
We don't have quarter grades.
Well, I mean, but you do. I mean, they don't count, but the kids get them.
No, it's a midterm.
Okay, fine.
I know we're splitting hairs, but I think it's important for this.
So what I'm saying is like you're progressively getting better throughout the year, right? So you're showing that you're progressively getting better, but when you average the first semester and the second semester, you're still getting a D. Even if because you get like this final grade, right? But what if you get a C the second semester and an F the first semester?
Then you get a D.
No,
you pass the class.
They don't average them out.
They don't average them from first semester and second semester.
So you just you get the credit or not?
But you get the credit anyway.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you would ultimately have a D.
I feel like personally, if a student has gotten an F one semester and a D second semester of algebra 1, we are doing them a disservice of putting them in geometry. They are very likely to fail first semester of geometry, maybe pull through a D second semester of geometry, and then they do it again senior year. We've just given them a high school diploma on the basis of 60%, where a GED requires a 72.5. The DMV written test is an 80% score. You look at technical scores that you have to get statewide, they start at 70%. So, I mean, I just feel like we're setting a bad precedent for
I'll
go those professional tests.
I'll go farther than that, Katrina. It's not 60; it could be 30, right? Because you could go 0 the first semester each time, 60 the second semester each time, and your average would actually be 30.
Yep.
Right. but we're not using that average. We would
I'm
just,
I'm
right.
just
No,
saying, it's worse
precisely.
than
So-
what we're saying.
So I guess my suggestion for this tonight is we pull it, we table it. We have more discussion about maybe Tori could provide us with some more examples. Maybe not at the next meeting, but at the one after that when we no, the next meeting is academics.
So
I don't
it'd be
know
the
if there's
one,
time.
the end of
January?
end of
February.
end of February or beginning of February.
Beginning. Well, so let's take some time to collect more information about how this is being used in the schools. Is it being used with freshmen, with sophomores, with juniors? And, you know, is there a way we could maybe provide this opportunity for seniors in that last ditch effort, but restrict it at the other grade levels where kids have more time and ability to make it up, and see if that would be something that would be maybe more amenable with the staff and the counselors who work with students.
Because like
Right.
ideally,
That sounds
if a
good.
kid is failing algebra 1 their freshman or sophomore year, they have time to take that again
Right.
and learn the stuff.
Mhm.
And it
Right.
doesn't, because there's not a requirement that you get through algebra 2 to graduate high school, is there?
3
You
years.
have, I mean, you
Yeah.
have to take math for 3 years, but you have to get 3 like if you start with
Through
geometry.
algebra too.
Yeah.
I think that the challenge and one of the other reasons why they bring these in is because the state had created the requirement for 24 credits, which if you get 6 credits per year for 4 years gives you 0 opportunity to fail a class, right?
Right.
So that was the other reason for this. However, most kids have an opportunity to do 0 hour, to do summer school, to do Apex. And senior year, they run out of options, but other years, I think they have options. So.
And Tori, didn't you say too that there were 28 that utilized that had the D or whatever to where it would have been?
That is correct.
There was like 49 or 50 students that actually
Total.
used this.
Yeah, I think it was 47, but yes,
Yeah.
I can double check.
Yeah, that used this that had greater than that had a C or higher. So it is utilized, but my interesting point in what she said too, I want to know at what year they utilized it.
Well, the 28 example we were given were the ones who used it last year to graduate and would not have graduated, right? But there were
Correct.
plenty of others
That had
who-
already used it.
who used it, had a C and graduated anyway, and then probably plenty of others who used it that weren't even seniors.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can get you those numbers.
Yes.
So what I'll do is I'll get to the numbers of the grade levels,
Mhm.
the classes,
Mhm.
and the grades they received. Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get that.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank
And
you.
I can send
Also-
it to you prior to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, if we could know, not just kind of in summary, but you know, for students that used it, how many times did they use it?
You can only use it.
So
Yeah.
the
You can only use it
policy,
once,
the
right?
policy does restrict it, as I understand, to 1 credit in math, 1 credit in science, 1 credit in history, and 1 credit in language arts. So
You could use it 4 times.
hypothetically, well, you can use it if it's a half a credit and then you get a D, right? If the F is a half a credit and you get a D, you're getting a full credit, but you're only using that half credit for that makeup. So you could potentially do this for 2 full years of math,
Yeah, if you get 1 credit, it would be 2. It could be 2 half credits, like you're
right?
saying.
2 half credits. So, but there's not an unlimited number of these, but there's 2 per subject area. Plus there's up to 4 with the world languages. So there's the potential to get 8 credits out of 24 based on this policy. Yes. Which is a lot.
I will certainly get you those
Okay.
numbers. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So we will table that one for more information. And we are up to future agenda items. January 27th, we will add the student advisory report back.
Yes.
Since they were sick tonight. That is the meeting right after parent guardian. So would you like to give the parent guardian report on the 27th or wait till the following meeting? Yeah,
You
it can wait.
you can wait.
Yeah, okay. So
So
we'll
that would go in
move that
February.
one to February 10th.
Oh, which is already on there.
Yep. And then, like I mentioned, we will have a presentation on the social emotional learning, attendance, cell phones, and kind of discipline at our secondary schools at the next meeting, where we have our academic updates. And the policy for bring your own device is the one that I think Tori was talking about with devices, right? That would include the most recent device.
Yes, it's our electronic communications policy, the one that we have.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not the, it's a different one than that, but yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Bring your own device. Yes. Okay. Other agenda topics? Anything folks want to add?
Nothing that
next
we haven't
meeting?
already talked about tonight.
Okay. Great. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.